In the memories of the martial artists in Where Winds Meet, Ruby will always be the cutest and most loyal companion. Just like her boss, she was a wild spirit who caused her elders plenty of headaches. She spent every day dreaming of the swords and shadows of the martial arts world, but her family kept her stuck firmly at her desk. The boss always tried to sneak away, but Auntie Han would constantly catch him and force him to copy ancient books as punishment. During those times, Ruby's pure sense of loyalty became his lifesaver. The boss would use sweet words to trick her into sharing the workload. After helping him copy so many lessons, Ruby's little head became filled with scholarly phrases. One day, Ruby started mumbling these academic words in her sleep. Her father, Uncle Joe, heard her and mistakenly thought his daughter was a genius born for greatness. He spent a good amount of money on 2 fresh yellow croaker fish to visit the local teacher. He knocked on Master Chen's door, hoping to start Ruby's path to becoming a scholar, but this choice crushed her happy childhood. Her martial arts picture books were replaced by boring classics like the Analects and the Classic of Poetry. Instead of running free, she had to sit in a classroom staring blankly at the teacher. To keep the secret that she had been helping the boss, Ruby kept her mouth shut and suffered in silence. This behavior made Uncle Joe so worried that he thought she was possessed by a ghost. He even spent 3 days splashing ritual water on her to chase the spirits away. Ruby lost her mother when she was very young, so Uncle Joe had to raise her all by himself as both a father and a mother. This gave her a personality that was a bit wild and reckless. The reason she and the boss were as close as real siblings was perhaps because the boss was also an orphan. He was raised only by Auntie Han and Uncle John. These 2 lonely young souls found the warmth of family in each other. In the village, Ruby was the undisputed leader of the children. One afternoon, a group of kids was flying kites in the fields. Suddenly, a kite string snapped. The paper butterfly drifted through the air and finally got stuck on an old tree branch on a distant, barren hillside. That place was incredibly far away, and the other children were too scared to go there. Only Ruby, driven by her refusal to lose, rushed toward the deep mountains alone. After putting in a huge effort to climb that crooked tree, she finally grabbed the kite like a precious treasure. By then, the last bit of sunset had already disappeared. Darkness fell from all sides, and the playmates who were laughing earlier had already been called home by their mothers for a hot meal. Uncle Joe was still at work, so her home was cold and empty. At that moment, Ruby sat high up on the tree branch. The forest wind howled around her, and the mountain rocks below felt as cold as the moonlight. She watched the lights of the distant village turn on one by one, and she suddenly felt a deep sense of loneliness and fear that she had never known before. But she gritted her teeth and told herself that she was going to be a hero, and heroes do not cry. She thought that even if she had to curl up in this tree all night, it was no big deal. As the night grew late, she became cold and hungry, and her mind began to drift. Just as she was about to slip from the branch, a flickering light appeared on the mountain path in the distance. It was a swinging lantern. The person carrying it had a raspy voice and called her name over and over again. When the person ran closer, the light shined on his face. It was the face of the boss. It was the gentlest and most comforting face in the whole world. In that second, her pride as a hero and her stubbornness completely vanished. She burst into loud sobs as she cried out for her boss. That night, the boss carried her on his back as they walked the uneven path home. That tiny lantern lit up the most private corners of Ruby's world. Ruby's dream of becoming a hero did not come from nowhere. It started with a legendary battle that planted a seed in her young heart. On a dark and windy night, Ruby hid from Uncle Joe and sneaked up to Hidden Peak to play. On the silent mountaintop, she held her breath and watched a duel between Luo Shen and Chu Qingquan. Their sword energy crossed through the air, and their white robes flowed with incredible grace. This scene deeply shocked Ruby. She realized for the first time that the martial arts world was not just a legend in her books. It was real. It was right under her feet, and it lived within these mountains and rivers. Even though Uncle Joe gave her a heavy spanking when she got home, Ruby remained stubborn. She immediately told the boss everything she saw. Others laughed at her and thought she was just a child making up stories, but the boss believed every detail she described. From that day on, the two of them made a secret pact. They promised to go out into the world together and become a pair of heroes who fought for justice. To save up money for their journey, the two little ones secretly hid away many bottles of parting tears every year. This was Auntie Han's special wine and was worth a fortune. They planned to sell the wine for money once they had enough and then travel the world with their swords. As the days passed, they hid more and more wine, but the door to that world still seemed very far away. Everything changed when the great swordsman Yi Dao arrived. Finally, the winds and rain of the martial arts world began to blow into their quiet little village. Auntie Han felt the danger coming from the Aureate Pavilion and decided to lead everyone away from the tavern to hide deep in the mountains. However, the boss made up his mind to follow Yi Dao to search for Uncle Zhang. This meant he had to break the promise they made to become a pair of heroes together. The martial arts world was too dangerous. Yi Dao was a deadly warrior who did not show mercy, and he could not look after a child. When the boss told Ruby the news, her eyes turned red instantly. She felt hurt and frustrated because she had saved wine for so many years and dreamed for so long only to be left behind in the end. But when she heard that the boss was going for an important reason to find Uncle Zhang, her unselfish nature took over. She held back her tears and beat her chest with pride. She told him to go and promised she would be the new leader while she waited for him to come back for her. Before he left, the boss gave her a bright red hero's cape. Ruby felt the pure joy of a child as she put it on and spun around in a circle. Her smile finally returned. She joked that if the boss did not come back, she would go into the world herself and drag him home. No one knew that this happy goodbye would be the very last time they would ever see each other. That night, the nightmare arrived. Assassins from the Aureate Pavilion sneaked into the village like ghosts. Flames rose into the sky, and screams were heard everywhere. The boss and Yi Dao fought hard inside a magical trap. Because the enemy had set up a confusing maze, the villagers could not find a way out of the village. They were like sheep waiting to be killed. Everyone would die unless someone could sneak out through a secret path and show the way from the hilltop. Ruby stepped forward at that moment. She knew about a very thin gap in the wall of an underground tunnel behind the mountain. It was the secret path she used to use to sneak out to Hidden Peak. Only a small child like her could squeeze through it. She wanted to save the people and become the hero she always dreamed of being. But the boss refused her plan because it was too dangerous. To protect her, the boss used a rope to tie Ruby's hands and left her with the crowd under strict watch. Then the boss rushed into the fire to fight against the powerful enemies. However, just when everyone thought there was no hope left, a bright patch of red waved wildly in the cold wind on the distant hilltop. It was the red cape from the boss. It was Ruby. She had broken free from the ropes and crawled through the secret tunnel after all. She stood at the highest and most dangerous spot. Using her young life, she became a glowing sign to show the villagers the way to escape. The boss looked back through the flames and felt a sharp pain in his heart. He saw the stubborn little girl on the hill, but he also saw the cold eyes of Qian Yi, the leader of the assassins, looking toward the hilltop. The first lesson of the martial arts world was not a victory feast, but a cold goodbye. On that day, Ruby used her own life to save every person in the village. She had always called herself a hero since she was a little girl. Even though she never saw the busy cities of the world or felt the true freedom of a master swordsman, what she did at that moment was the highest form of honor. The two friends had relied on each other for many years, but they never got to see their reunion or say a final goodbye. People often see only the beauty and youth of the martial arts world, but they do not see the heavy weight of death and separation on a young person's shoulders. Ruby is gone now. She took her dreams of adventure and turned into a gentle breeze on Hidden Peak. Even in death, the spirit of a hero leaves a sweet memory, and her courage was equal to the greatest warriors in the world. She was Ruby. She was the boss's forever companion. She was the cutest and bravest true hero in this world.